This morning I found something really interesting in this Oforia Arcadia Captain Hook remix. If you want to listen to that track, I put a link to YouTube here and also to my new Spotify playlist where you can find like selected music from me, where you also find this really nice track. Around minute 8:30, I was listening, there was kind of like a change in scale. Actually, I think it's more like a change in musical modes, which we come to in a minute. But it's a really cool concept, I think. They do it kind of like during the section, which creates like a lot of tension, in my opinion, and it's a really cool mechanism to drive actually the melody up. And by diving deeper into this, I actually checked something really cool out, and I built a little device for you Ableton guys, which allows you to record any melody in the C major scale and play it then back at any musical mode in any key you want. So basically, if you have a MIDI controller or a synth, you just need to remember the white keys. And if you don't have a MIDI controller, then this is still cool for you because it allows you to write melodies more by the tension the notes have. And I will explain that in a minute. As I cannot play that track, I want to show you quickly on a simple melody how this effect works. So notice this melody shares some notes in common, but actually there are different notes. So for example, this B is actually a C here, and that C is a D, and those notes are also not the same. So they're all moved a little bit, and they still have that kind of like feeling of similarity here. So once you listen, you will notice what I mean. And if you know the basics behind that technique, then you can basically move your melody in mood during the track, but still keeping the same melodic idea. Let's look a little bit into what we need to know for that. So as you already know, there are scales, and the most easy one is the C major scale. As you can see, we have the notes here, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. It's just the white keys on the piano. But what you might not have known is that every scale also has like a relative scale. And the relative scale means that you have the exact same notes, but in a different order. So check that out. The Phrygian mode, which we use a lot in Psytrance, has the same white keys, but it's starting on E instead of C. So we have kind of like different intervals then in between that. So as you can see, we have like a half step and then a whole step, while here we had like a whole step in the beginning. And if you want to check that even more out, then you can look into that Wikipedia here. I will put all the links down in the video. And you can see that's our C major scale. And by just shifting to D here, we are in Dorian mode. And by shifting to E, we are in Phrygian. By shifting to F, we are in Lydian. And it's quite simple, actually. So all you need to remember whenever your music theory sucks in Psytrance is, I doubt Psytrance loves me a lot. And then you know, Ionian, I doubt Psytrance loves me a lot, and a lot because then you can remember the Locrian in the end a bit better. And now check out the device I built for you guys, because this allows you, if you have like a simple scale like the C major scale here, that you can write all your melodies in that C major, and we just hit record here. So notice this channel is routed to this channel. And as you can see, it has built all the modes out of this scale here. And now I will tell you how I did that you can rebuild this on your own. Or if you're too lazy to do that, then you can just check on my Gumroad and get this kind of like Ableton rack for yourself. I just automated this here so that I could record it like this. As you remember, the major scale, the Ionian mode, which I didn't convert because we don't need to convert it here, we just need to turn it off, is from C to C. And the next key in the major scale is a D. So our second scale degree in the major scale is the D, and our second mode is Dorian. And D is 2 semitones above C, so we have C, C sharp, and D, plus 2. And all we need to do is we need to put a pitch in here, put the plus 2 in here, put the Dorian mode in here. The Dorian mode you can just find here in MIDI effects. Here, Dorian mode. Then you place the Dorian mode in here. You put the key D in. And now what this chain so far does, it will transpose the C major scale. And that's an important point. You need to write it in the C major scale then. It transposes this C major scale to D Dorian. But now if we want to go back from D Dorian to C Dorian, then we just need to pitch it down by 2 semitones again. And if we now want to have any other key from C Dorian, let's say we want to have G sharp Dorian because our track is in G sharp, all you need to do is to turn on the transposer here, put on G sharp, which is 8 semitones above. Let me explain this one more time and go a little bit deeper into it. Why are we adding the +2 here? Because we are going from C major to D Dorian. So we want to start our first key on D. That's why we have the +2 here. Here in that Dorian mode, the transition from the major to the Dorian mode happens. And the last pitch here, the -2, is then because I wanted to go back to C again. Now you ask yourself, could I leave both of those away? Try it, but it doesn't work. So that's simple. Also, this transpose here, which says that it transposes the incoming MIDI first, didn't work for me. I tried this. If you have a different experience, let me know. But that was the way, actually, how I could convert this. Let me explain you a little bit this scale tool. You'll find more information here also on the Ableton website, but it's actually really simple. It looks very complex and it confuses me every time, but it's actually very simple. So the x-axis is the incoming MIDI. So this is C. So if you would kind of like divide this into columns, then you would see this is all white here. And here we already have the C sharp, then comes D, then comes D sharp, so you can basically see it here on the black one. Then we have E, a white one, F, which is white, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, and B, which is white again. So that's basically our incoming notes. And the other axis, the y-axis, is our outgoing notes. So if we have a C coming in, it will be mapped to a C. If we would have this one activated, then our C would be mapped to a C sharp. And the same goes here. If we would put one line from the bottom here straight through the top here, right in the middle, then we would basically map our notes to the same notes which come in. But you find it in more detail explained down here. And I also built like a little transpose back sing here, which I also will upload on my Gumroad. But this isn't as straightforward because this kind of like matrix pattern doesn't work as easy in the other way, because I think they designed it for transposing from the major scale to any of those modes and not backwards. So I had to change a few things, but if you want to build it yourself, the most easy thing is just put it in, record the notes out, and adjust the stuff which doesn't work. But that said, if we have everything activated, then we will get, for example, here, G sharp Dorian. So this is G sharp Dorian, G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp. Next we have C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F sharp. So we have C sharp and D sharp, then E sharp is F, and then we have here F sharp. You can also switch it down here. And we said we have G sharp Dorian, then it actually names those also right. So let's use this now in action. I will clear all envelopes so that we don't have the automation here anymore. And I want to have, because my track mostly works now in Phrygian, I want to activate this one here. And I want to activate G sharp, and now everything I put it here in the C major scale will be G sharp Phrygian later. Let's remove this as well. And the interesting thing is actually now those become not only those notes, because they will be transformed, they will become actually the scale degrees. So we are now able to write our melody in scale degrees. So this is the first one, this is the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh, and the eighth. And we don't need to care about where the actual scale degrees are. And the scale degrees are really important because the scale degrees kind of define the tensions in the melody. So there are some notes which really want to resolve to the root note, and there are some notes which want to resolve less to the root note. So for example, listen to this, and then you will see the relation to the root note. So this one had a lot of tension. This one has less tension. Wait, let me bring both for you here. And the cool thing is now we could start like writing our melody. Maybe we do something like this. And then we would have kind of like a rising style here. And then we can just record it out if we want. Because maybe you don't want to keep it all in C, D, and E. So then you have it back in G sharp, Phrygian, and we have everything nicely in our scale degrees. The first, the second, the third, the fifth, and the seventh degree. And here we have the first, the second, the third, the fifth, and the seventh degree. So that's pretty cool. We are now able to write our melodies in scale degrees. And now we can even get one step further again, and we can now go and switch the modes. So let's do a few switches. So we will switch from Phrygian to Locrian. Notice that this key, which is off here of our original G Phrygian scale, so if you want to be entirely in the G Phrygian scale, is due to we kind of like transposed this when we transpose this to the Locrian mode, and that way we are kind of like losing that relative structure because we are moving it a bit. But you can fix that by moving notes then here, or if you have different blocks, you can also use different scales. Usually if I do switch scales in a track, then of course you want to kind of like keep this root note, and that's why I actually built this tool that it pitches this down to the key again. But obviously you could write in the exact same notes as I have shown in the beginning of this video, the melody, and then all the scales you would be using would consist of the exact same notes, and you wouldn't have any scale which has notes which are not in the other scale. If you want to know more about music theory, I'll link to a video up here where you can check out my whole playlist on music theory. My playlist here, it's all about full on, so night full on, twilight, morning psy, daytime, everything which is kind of like related to full on. Very cool tracks, so it's kind of like evergreen tracks, and it's some newer tracks. So check it out.